Hey guys, it's WolfMaiden, and today I'm going to talk to you about what happened in Dark Tides, some bits of story and things I thought that were interesting. This video is specifically about my experience, about people that I met in the game, their characters, and a little bit of the story of Dark Tides that I gathered while I was there. I will have another video about the events, like court and stuff like that, as well as maybe, if I get enough of them, about the in-game groups that were there. I only got one video so far, so we'll see. So I'm going to get right into it. First, for some background, Nepen is the place that this game was set in. They have one main antagonist that is simply called the Empire, and there are a few other nations and lots of races to play at Dark Tides. So starting off on the day that we got there, night one was Wednesday. And after setting up our cabin and putting on our garb, we went to the tavern. So keep in mind, I know absolutely nobody at this game except for 3 people. 2 were friends of mine, Kyo the letter carrier, and Otheros, and Lord Frost, who was our host of the cabin. It also was raining when we arrived at our cabin. And I also didn't get a look inside just because I think we were going to set up in there and then record, but the cabin inside was always a mess. But here's a look at other cabins. The cabins had a pretty cool layout. They had 2 loft areas, one on either side. You can kind of see the ladder in this shot of a different cabin. And you would take the ladder, go to the top loft. There's one on the left and right when you enter the door. And then when you go up those ladders, there's 2 mattresses there. I stayed in one of the lofts. Probably would stay on the floor next time, especially if I'm drinking. But it was nice up there. There was a lot more privacy. And then there were 4 bunks on the ground. So in total, the cabins could hold 12 people. Then there was a little cemented patio area with a picnic table and some extra space. We were kindly allowed to stay in the cabin with Lord Frost, who is a real OG, if I do say so myself. And I'll dive into his story a little bit because I think it's probably one of the coolest. He was the very first one to get the Lord title, and he's an incredibly fashionable Lord. I personally thought he looked very majestic. He wore coats of blue and gold brocade, and they were so gorgeous. I wish I had a picture of that. Next time, I gotta be on my game. I didn't take as much videos and photos as I wanted to. I mostly just enjoyed the game. But back to Lord Frost, I hope he eventually gets elevated to royalty if possible, because he just looks so majestic. One day, I think the last day that we were all leaving, there was a thunderstorm. When I was packing up in the loft opposite, he was just staring out of the window and just watching the thunderstorm. And it was just really cool. Another one of those like little moments. I had like little moments for like each person almost in my head about like the thing that defined their character, but it was cool. So how we got the Lord title was that there was a zombie invasion going on. He walked into a keep that was on the field. He claimed it was his, got adventurers to protect it from the undead, as well as other adventurers, got a priest to bless it so the zombies would stop spawning. And then he just held the keep. Because of that, he was given the Lord title. And it was just such an ingenious thing that happened because technically anybody could have done that, but nobody really thought of it but him. So Lord Frost was among those that I also sort of knew in advance, and we were all, me, Kyo, and Otheros, were all there in the tavern together with Lord Frost. We all kind of just sat down at this table where there were other people. I think Lord Frost knew them and Kyo knew them. For me and Otheros, this was our first game, and so we were just sitting there, and now there were 4 other people sitting at this table. 4 other very important people at this table. So I'm thinking everything was pretty normal, and because this game isn't like super immersive roleplay, I was like, oh, you know, maybe the like roleplay hasn't started or whatever, so we're just all like hanging out. And I genuinely can't remember how exactly things ended up the way that they did, but I ended up sassing the wrong person. I ended up sassing Lord Bard, or Lord Governor Bard. I'm sorry, I got used to dropping his titles, but he's the leader of the sort of city-state of Nepen, and I didn't realize he was a lord. Honestly, and I'm sorry if you're watching this, Bard, I did not realize that you were a lord. You weren't wearing clothes that made you look like one. So I'm sitting there and I'm just sort of listening to this guy talk, and I don't know if it was his tone or he was saying stuff that was particularly, I don't know, high and mighty sounding to me, but I must have felt like it was disrespectful or something, because I started sort of responding in turn. My automatic mode is to dissent, I think, especially when there's a lack of respect, you know? The peasantry deserve respect, okay? And I don't care what game I'm playing in. At LARPs, I usually end up being sort of a peasant dissident, especially if nobles abuse their power. That's kind of my default. I don't know why. So I guess my first instinct was really why are you talking like that to us? You know, like, just what the heck? So I was just being like, okay, well, what the who are you? La la la. Then like halfway through the conversation, I think I realized it was Lord Bard. And Kyo had told me beforehand about him because our characters would have reason to confer on this. We're part of the same sort of merchant group. And so I knew that he was kind of dubious, you know. I knew that he took power kind of weird, and I don't believe the ends justify the means. So, and you know, if you watched my Dark Tides prep video, that I made propaganda posters relating to Lord Bard. And I was sort of gonna be, you know, trying to subvert the government and, you know, maybe find somebody else to install as a leader. You know, it just, you know, details. But I remember telling him, I've got plans for you. This man, Lord Bard, his story was that he paid a mercenary band called the 100 Hounds to help him with this plot to become Lord Mayor. He paid Kyo, the letter carrier, to make 5 sign-in sheets and write on the back in invisible ink 3 different things, only one of which she actually remembered, which was that I vote Bard as Lord Mayor Bard. And those sentences, again, were in invisible ink. Then court happened later in the weekend, and the 100 Hounds handed out the court sign-in sheets. And everybody was signing them, or most people were signing them. There was an incident where Kyo made a face that alerted somebody to the dubiousness of the document, and they didn't sign it, but most people just signed it. So at the end of court, when the judge was getting up to leave, Bard said, I have one more thing for you. And he placed them on the table. And so he went ahead and looked on both the front and the back and saw what they had written there. Then apparently he yelled very loudly, God damn it, Bard. Everyone welcome your new Lord Mayor Bard. Because of that incident, also, the letter carrier is now known for using invisible ink, and people usually are like dubious about signing documents. Or they always ask about the invisible ink from her. This was a long time ago. And more recent memory, Bard was also kidnapped by a group called the Temple of Set and forced to agree to making their religion an official religion so that they could operate freely in Nepen. I found it hilarious, especially when I heard that literally nobody helped him. Nobody got up. He was getting kidnapped in the middle of court and no help. They just took him away like that. So back to what I was saying before. Lord Bard was there. I said, I have plans for you, referring to my many plans of subverting the government and things like that. Anyway, it turned out my sass was very amusing for him. And the other 3 people that were sitting beside us happened to be 2 goblins and Raven, the leader of the Temple of Set. Probably not the best people I'll be sitting with, didn't realize any of this. Again, just sort of walked into this. So me and Bard were going back and forth. And then at some point he said, you know, I could use a bride. And I was like, okay. I don't remember what I said exactly to that. But then next to me, I was literally sitting right next to them. One of the Temple of Set group was like, oh, well, we offer bride escort services, aka kidnapping somebody to marry. And I was like, wait. And then they started talking. They had like this, they were joking. But I mean, at some point, I'm like, wait, no, this is not happening. We're not doing that. This is not going to happen. And so Kyo sitting next to me, I was like, is there a religion that is a monogamous marriage thing? Like, she offered to get engaged to me. And so we sort of did an engagement. We even had like rings and everything, provided by Anu of the Phoenix Company. So it was just really funny. And I was going around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to like counter this thing. So one of the things I did, I went to Anu and I was like, oh, is there a religion that's like monogamous? And she goes, no. And so I made up a religion called the Black Swan that literally just had stuff that I felt would be like every possible contingency I could think of to like have him not marry me. And then he wasn't respecting the engagement of me and Kyo or whatever. And so she's like a religious leader herself. So she gets up and then they start talking about things and other stuff unrelated. And then I was just sort of standing back and like laughing at the whole thing. And then Otheros, who hadn't ever been to a LARP before, kind of like gets up and comes from the table and comes over to me because I was standing at that point somewhere else. And he goes, I am so scared for you. And I was like, and I'm like, why? And he's like, because they're what they're talking about. And I'm like, nah, he can't do that. Like, he won't be able to do that. I genuinely believed that I would be able to out fox the fox, if you will. And so I just really honestly thought all of this was hilarious. And I felt that it was like a challenge. So that's kind of where I was coming from. I thought it was kind of fun. Scheming, politics, all that stuff. One of my favorite things at LARP. So among those things, we also didn't use my real name, my character name, because Lord Bard is basically like the law in this land. So if we used my name, he could have put it on a contract or whatever and said it was legal and then we were legally married or something like that. So my friend is like, we're in our cabin at this point and he goes, like what name should you have? And it was like, he's like, what about Elizabeth? And I was like, maybe. And then he's thinking and he goes, I got it, Gertrude. And I was like, he said it just like that too. And I was like, oh no. And then, but nope, that was my name. And I was like, fine. I hated that name so much, but it gave me the nickname on top of that, Gertie. And Flirty Gertie. My in-game name was actually Maria Wolf. I literally did not get to use it until the end when I signed a contract making the Gentle Merchants able to provide their services in Neppen. So I ended up going mostly by WolfMaiden, but people still called me Gertrude. And I was just like, but it was funny. It was funny for a lot of people. So, and some people might literally only know me by Gertrude there at that game. So it's kind of funny. After that Wednesday, however, one of the funnier things was that Lord Bard referred to me as his betrothed the whole event to the end, and might still at the next event. It was so funny. You just hear his voice, and his voice is very distinct. And he's like, my betrothed. And it's like from wherever he's at when he sees me or whatever. So I would run away, or I would glare at him if I was too tired or whatever, and just continue walking and ignore him. And that was very, very consistent throughout the week. Anyway, so next day, Otheros and Kyo and I brought out our things. We were part of the Gentle Merchants, which deserve their own video altogether, but the Gentle Merchants is a merchant group at LARPs, and we trade our items for in-game currency. It could be anything as small as like a little ring to actual clothing or fabrics and that kind of thing. And if you see us Gentle Merchants at a LARP event, which we hope to be at more in the future, then you can come over and typically trade for in-game currency. We ended up having to barter at Dark Tides, but it was totally fine. Ended up with a lot of really cool stuff. So yeah, we set up shop. We had a little cart and a tent and a tapestry and just did that. So we set out our stuff every day of the event. Kyo was off letter carrying most of the time, but she also was helping sell things as well. So all of us sort of traded things at differing times throughout the week. We also kept a list of our transactions. I also have a journal over here. I have this journal here. This was our Merchants Chronicles, and this has some stories and signatures from our new members that we got at Dark Tides. Also got this at the beginning, our little laser etched, I believe, Dark Tides necklace. We role played pretty heavy with anybody who would want to role play with us. We welcomed a lot of people into our group, and just, you know, if you were hanging out and you wanted a stool to sit on, we had one there and it was pretty cool, and hopefully we'll do the same next year. If you want to role play, if you want to hang around, you can do that. No obligation to join our actual group or anything like that. You could just chill, hang out with us. We enjoy the company. One of my favorite things I remember was Otheros, seeing him smiling, having the transaction book open and just writing down the transactions as they happen. He was just talking to people while he was writing in it, standing, walking around, and it was just like the profile. That's like the image I have of Otheros at the event. And the scenery was super beautiful. There was a little lake and a lot of greenery, and that's probably not that impressive to a lot of other people, but for me, Southern California, it's not usually very green. I kind of hate it. It's very brown here. So going somewhere else where it rained, where there was greenery, where like it was just so gorgeous and alive, I really loved that. Me and Otheros walked around a bit, and yeah, I got some interesting footage of that. We were just goofing off and having fun. I spent some time walking to a lot of other camps, talking to a lot of other people, meeting people, and I tried helping out where needed as well, and just enjoying my time with all these new people, you know, like I've never met before. So I didn't get to meet everybody, and I didn't get to hang around everybody. So I hope to maybe meet more new people at Dark Tides, all that next time. One of the ideas that I had after like the first night was getting everybody married off, because, ooh, marriage alliances and things. Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean. I went and was trying to kind of be like, oh, does anybody want to get married? Huh? No? The court? No? No, you don't want to? Okay, that's fine. But while I was trying to find other people to marry and stuff, I ended up talking to this goblin at the masquerade. I mean, human lady named Kip. So Lady Kip. She definitely wasn't a goblin at all. Definitely not. She had beautiful black hair. She was wearing her mask for the masquerade and definitely wasn't green-skinned or a goblin at all. I accidentally asked this human lady if goblins got married. She told me she didn't think they did, that goblins didn't do human things. And when I like asked the guy standing next to her, would you marry Lady Kip? He said no, and Lady Kip wasn't having that. In her voice, very high-pitched goblin-y voice, she was just squabbling with him, and it was so hilarious. And I was like, she is so beautiful. You'd be honored to marry her. And he was just like, nah, I don't want to marry her. And so it was just really funny. And Lady Kip was super adorable. So I did have my hand in 3 separate weddings. One was the goblin wedding by fire, which I missed. I'm super sad about that. But there were a couple people that got married during the masquerade. And lastly, there was a political marriage involving Stella, a Sligarian princess, who graciously added into her contract that Lord Bard could not force me to marry him, but he could continue to try and pursue me and convince me to do so. That was the terms for that. Him calling me his betrothed in some sort of way never ceased, and it was hilarious. He was incredibly persistent, like the most persistent. But it was very funny. There were a variety of other things that happened, like I quested one day and we met a couple of friends that way. I think it was Captain Ty, who was an archer, and we met Cleo, I believe, which was pretty cool. And we continued to see them throughout the week, which was awesome. Then, of course, there were the battles. There were 3 of them each day. There were lots of little competitions. There was a Dodge Rock tournament that I was able to participate in. Didn't do very well. Dodge Rock is a lot harder than it looks. There was an archery tournament and fighting tournaments with differing rules. There was lots of parties and drinking, including the party our gentle merchants hosted, a masquerade. Then on Saturday there was court, where players could sue each other for different things throughout the week. And if you were sued, you'd have to appear in court, and it was super funny. I got a lot of footage from that. There was also this event called the pheasant hunt that definitely wasn't a bunch of nobles hunting peasants, throwing money at them to bait them into getting killed, basically. It was really an interesting event. That'll be in the event video for Dark Tides, but oh my gosh, it was so hilarious. And then there was a bardic competition, there was a fashion kind of competition, a thrift kit, and first-timers kind of garb tournament. During the event, in regards to lore, there was a push to open a portal somewhere, and there were quite a few different places to go. I will get the lore all straightened out, but the place that was decided on was Myrrh, which was a place kind of overrun by undead, but they offered some unique things like death knights, they had alchemists, they had scholars, and other folk that could be useful to Neppen. But when the portal was being opened, it started boring a hole, and nobody really knew that it was going to do that. So while it was boring a hole to the location that the portal was going to be set, it hit the in-between, opening it up and unleashing a flying tentacled creature up into the night sky. I kind of assume it's a beholder, but not 100% certain. And that was basically my experience at Dark Tides. A lot of friendship making and talking, socializing, drinking, partying. Then there was the combat, which I didn't get to participate in. Next year I hope maybe to do so. I laughed, I cried. I mostly laughed though. I had so much fun. I was so happy meeting all the people there and just getting to play with them and hang out, and meeting the friends that I had made online in person at Dark Tides was also really great. Dark Tides has a wonderful staff, the ORE, and they were understaffed, but they did an excellent job, and I'm very happy that they set out to have this event because I was able to go and enjoy it. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody that was really awesome there. I don't think I met a single person that I was unhappy to have met. I love all you guys. Thank you so much for making my first year back at LARP after an almost 5-year hiatus an amazing one. So I already can't wait to go again and see all my old friends and make new ones. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video.